Mr. Speaker, we certainly all understand that our economy is struggling, that millions of Americans can't find a job, too many families are struggling to make ends meet, and that the American people are very frustrated that Washington is simply not doing enough to get our economy moving. And I would argue that not only is Washington not doing enough to get our economy moving, but it is actually harming the efforts of American innovators, of manufacturers, of small businesses, of the job creators, because of government overregulations. And the fact is today that the Obama administration has publicly listed almost 220 new regulations just this year alone. That's a 15% increase in 1 year alone of new regulatory actions under consideration. Each one of them is estimated to cost at least $100 million each, if you can imagine. Mr. Speaker, the bill that's currently under consideration would provide relief from some of the new EPA regulations that would cost American job creators more than $14 billion and threaten over 230,000 jobs. In my home state of Michigan, this government overregulation would cost nearly $800 million and put nearly 13,000 jobs at risk. Mr. Speaker, in my home state of Michigan, we are on our knees economically, and we cannot tolerate this anymore. It has to be stopped. At home, I have talked to so many business people, from small family businesses to major corporations, etc. The message from all of them is always the same, that government overregulation is absolutely killing their efforts to grow and to create jobs. I'll give you one example. There's a company in Port Huron, Michigan, in my congressional district called Domnar Company. And Port Huron has been hit particularly hard. The current estimates are that the unemployment rate is in the 20th percentile. If you can imagine that. And it's unbelievable how bad it is there at this time. Domtar is a paper company. It currently employs 245 people. It generates between $8 to $12 million in revenue annually. And they estimate, I talked to them about this regulation under consideration today, they estimate that this regulation today would cost them $9 million to scrub the coal that they use to operate their boilers, and would cost $3 to $4 million to convert to natural gas, and have an additional annual cost of $3 to $4 million a year just to stay compliant. And they estimate that these costs would likely force the company to shut down 2 of their 4 paper machines, of course, forcing a reduction in jobs, Mr. Speaker. This company, this community, this nation cannot handle that kind of loss in additional jobs that this regulation would force. It seems today that the 3 most feared letters of to American job creators, where it used to be IRS, today those letters are EPA. It's no longer the IRS, it's now the EPA. And why is that? Well, on April 30th of 2010, the EPA issued a statement on a study of impact. They were studying the impact of one of their proposed regulations. This is what they said. The regulatory impact assessment does not include either qualitative or quantitative estimation of the potential effects of the proposed rule on economic productivity, economic growth, employment, job creation, or international economic competitiveness. In other words, they don't care what their regulations have to do with job creation, much less stifling and killing job creation in this country. This is what our own government is doing to our job creators. And this is from an administration who claims that job creation is its #1 priority. Are you kidding? You got to be kidding. We have to stop putting all of this government regulation on killing jobs, and certainly House Republicans have been trying to lift the boot of big government off the necks, off the throats of job creators and of workers who are looking for a job. And we've heard repeatedly from this president about the need to invest in infrastructure, in transportation infrastructure. At the same time, this president and this administration is talking about how infrastructure is such an economic lifeblood for our economy, which I agree with and I think House Republicans agree with. But at the same time the president is saying we got to invest in infrastructure and fixing roads, his administration is moving forward on this regulation that we are talking today that would put large segments of the American concrete, of the cement plants in this country out of business. And I would tell the president it's very hard to have infrastructure investment, to build roads, if you don't have any concrete, if you don't have any cement. I would say, Mr. Speaker, I speak against this amendment, but I speak in favor of the underlying bill, and I would call on my colleagues to pass this bill now. Pass this bill. Let's get America